I could go and buy a running drive-in GT for $400.
The national speed limit is no longer 55, is it? We're past that.
Not anymore.
All right.
What I think is probably the rarest Foxbody. I feel like I have to do this to prove that it's real.
Stop. Oh, no. Sorry. Mustang
Sounds like you
era.
need to talk to Kenny Bell.
Hello there. Welcome to Gearhead 704. I'm Matt. This is also Matt. And we're actually at Fox Mustang Restoration, and this is Matt. This is one of the last times we might have Cream behind us here.
Yeah.
Because Cream's in auction.
Yeah, auction's ending tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So
but we got
she may not be here next week.
I know, so we had to do the Q&A now. So if you're new to the channel, I did put out, not too long ago, I put out an Instagram post as well as a YouTube post saying that Matt here is going to answer some of your Foxbody questions. Now, we're not going to be able to get to all the questions, Matt, because a lot came in for some reason. I think some people have been watching the videos. Some of you guys know that, hopefully you knew he was going to answer the questions and not me. Because the answers could be a little weird. But anyway, I'm going to go through the questions. I think we'll start on YouTube. We'll go through some YouTube ones first. And most of them Matt will answer, but if it's kind of a weird question, maybe I'll answer. You know, let's start out with this. So Matt, you really, performance isn't necessarily your thing. You know about it, but you're more about stock restoration and stuff. Right. Right, so you kind of let them know what types of questions you can answer and which ones you may not.
One of my favorite things to do on a car is going to be the engine electrical diagnostics. So I like being able to figure out like why the car's not running right or why there's an electrical problem. I think I'm pretty good at those questions. I'll give that a shot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Stock restoration, originality, stuff like that. I love the car as a machine. So that's kind of where my focus is it as a machine. So that's the type of questions I can answer. Now when it gets to performance, I do a little bit of performance, but never gotten any power adders, turbocharger, supercharger, anything like that. Just never got into it. I was more focused on just, you know, I like the way the cars look and the way the cars drive, pretty much stock. I know a lot of people think that's weird, but that's what I like. So
I don't know, you're turning me onto it. Yeah, because I've had a modified car, and you know what? Stock kind of works better. It doesn't break as much. That's what I'm learning.
You've driven Peaches. So.
I have. That's an awesome video, by the way. Check out, guys.
And it's bone stock, like even stock suspension, everything.
But I think on Peaches, I've been trying to talk to Matt. I think we need to do just some slight little upgrades, because you might have to do an engine rebuild, perhaps. Perhaps.
Thinking about possibly doing an engine rebuild.
So maybe, you know, a little Ford Alphabet Cam, GT4. Anyway, that's for another video, but I'm working on them, guys.
Well, you got the tubular intake, so
that's true.
If you want to give me that, that'll be a start in the right direction.
All right, if you think Matt should modify Peaches lightly, like we're talking, you know, Ford Alphabet Cam, GT40 tubular intake, and maybe some GT40 heads, comment down below.
But you're going to have to find the plaque that goes on top.
Oh, I got to find the plaque. Okay, well, if I give it to you, you can find your own plaque.
Fair.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump in. So we're going to start with the YouTube questions. Okay, guys, actually, before we get into the questions, one other thing, again, in case you're new, this is my motor. I'm working on getting it in the SSP, and Matt's helping me out. So if you want to follow any of that build, we're doing very much a how-to, right, Matt? Doing all the steps.
I mean, yeah, you're wanting to know how to do it. Yeah. I'm showing you how to do it. So.
Yeah, and we're giving you guys all that knowledge. So there you go. All right, let's go ahead and get to the first question here. He says, I'm needing to have my 89 coupe quarter windows resealed. I'm curious about how long I'll be looking at from me shipping them to you to me getting them back.
The time frame it's going to take to get them back actually depends on when it's paid for. They don't go on the line until after they're paid. Once we receive the quarter windows in, we clean them up, go over them very closely with a very high intensity light to find any type of imperfections, which we'll circle with a pen or a paint pen. We'll email you those pictures, and once you approve them that, you know, this is your windows and, you know, these are any issues your windows may have, once it's paid, then you go in the line. You're looking at about 5 to 6 weeks, but I am finishing up some modifications that will hopefully cut several weeks off of that time frame. But right now it's at a 5 to 6 weeks.
And is that when you receive the windows, when they send you your windows, about 5 to 6 weeks from that point?
That's at the point of when they pay.
Okay.
Yeah, so this way, because we just put them in line as they paid for.
Got another question. These cars lose traction easy from a rolling start. Sometimes gets annoying. Wheel hop. When losing traction, first and second gear, street car, show driven. Any thoughts on how to stop wheel hop?
The quad, sure, everybody's heard of the quad shocks. That's one of the main reasons they were put in is a rear end stabilizer. They also help eliminate the wheel hop when peeling out. You didn't mention what year your car was, so if you go back to like a 79 82, or I'm sorry, 79 84, to where they didn't use the quad shocks, They didn't have stabilizers, so if you peel out with those, it's easy to get the wheel hop. If you just left your quad shocks off, that's easy to get the wheel hop. But if you got a wheel hop, you've got something, either something loose in your suspension, the shocks are blown out, you're missing the quad shocks, or you got an earlier suspension. Something just popped into my head, there's a possibility you could have a torque box ripped out. Several things that I'm not thinking of sure could be the answer. The best thing I can say is get into your suspension, get it up on the lift, make sure there's nothing loose, make sure your quad shocks and your regular shocks and your springs are in good shape, and that would be the best way to go.
Okay.
Good starting point.
I collected a good amount of new old stock parts years back and sold the car they were intended for. Where do you see the market going for these cars?
Well, the cars are definitely getting more and more popular.
Yeah.
You know, the prices on those keep going up and up. I remember back when we started this business, I could go and buy a running drive-in GT for $400, and that was like regular. Now I see people asking, you know, a rolling chassis, no interior, no engine, no wiring, $2,500.
That sounds like a good deal. I better go get that one.
Exactly. But as with anything else, it depends. You know, the value ultimately comes down to what you're wanting to take for it and what somebody else is willing to pay.
I have a 1989 Mustang 5.0 that it seems to be running really rich, and it doesn't have the power it should, and when you start sometimes you have to floorboard the gas to get it to start. Any suggestions on what that might be? A million things?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to, it could be a bad computer, it could be bad sensors. The first thing I would want to check, however, since you're running super rich, one of the first things that comes to mind is maybe a massive vacuum leak. A massive vacuum leak introduces too much oxygen into the engine. The oxygen sensors sees that, hey, there's too much oxygen, I need to add fuel. But if you have an oxygen leak, you're going to supply more oxygen than that system is programmed to handle. So you basically just end up going wide open with the injectors most of the time, which can also cause all kinds of problems with, you know, with starting. So
if you have a vacuum leak, isn't there a good, what do you put, like smoke test? You smoke it, right?
I actually have a smoke test, which is a smoke machine made for automotive. It's made for finding, you know, exhaust leaks, emission leaks, and vacuum leaks.
That's a video we should do sometime. We should make a smoke machine. And,
yeah. 1 year after Foxtoberfest, we did kind of a tech hangout where people could come and ask me questions on the Sunday here after the show. There was like 4 Fox bodies out front, and I said, who wants to check their car for vacuum leaks? And no one thought that they had vacuum leaks. I said, I guarantee you at least half of these cars have vacuum leaks. And out of 4 of them, 3 of them had vacuum leaks that they didn't know they had.
75%. See, I'm good at math.
Yeah.
Speed density swap to mass air, what does it take? Actually, Matt, I think I can answer this.
Go for it.
You'll find out in an upcoming video, because my 88 SSV is speed density. We're going to do a mass air swap on it.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned to the channel. Yeah, I got to answer your question.
Teaser.
Are 410s a good upgrade for AOD Fox body? If so, will they be reliable on the highway? So they're asking about 410 gears for automatic.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't plan on driving a car on the highway with 410s. I really don't have any personal experience of 410s. The most I've driven was 373, and that was too high for me for sure.
And that was in a manual, right? That you had
right,
that?
Right, that was a manual. I know automatics are pretty bad. Right now, Peaches has a stock rear end gear. I got to rebuild the rear end, but it's got a 273. I'm probably going to bump it up to a 355.
Right.
Which will give you, you know, a little bit more speed on the lower end, spend more RPMs on the upper end.
I think for an automatic, because the AOD is kind of so sluggish compared to the manual, and this is just personal preference, I would probably go with a 373 in an auto, and for a manual, a 355, just because I want a little more pickup in an auto, but I certainly wouldn't go to a 410.
Yeah, you got to worry about the upper end too.
Right, yeah.
So if it's a car you're going to drive on a regular basis.
That's true. National speed limit is no longer 55, is it? We're past that.
Not anymore.
All right, maybe 355.
Surprising, growing out to Missouri to visit my family, there's speed limits there that are 80.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Then 355 is probably the way.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, Matt wins again. What are your thoughts on the Kenny Bell Blowzilla performance for the OEM intake? Had Thomas Moss port the OEM lower intake, install the comp cam, JBA shorty headers, Scorpion roller rockers, hot forged distributor, Excel supercoil, professional product 65mm throttle body, EGR, 24-pound injectors, I know what those are, was ready for the Kenny Bell, discontinued the year or so before the build was ready. If known, would have bought blower first. Can't believe Kenny Bell don't keep one in stock. Oh, no. Sorry.
Sounds like you're gonna talk to Kenny Bell.
We don't do superchargers here, so contact Kenny Bell.
Unfortunately, I'd have to say talk to all the manufacturers of the equipment that you're buying. I heard you mention Professional, whoever you're buying the injectors from, Kenny Bell.
It's a lot of mixed match
yeah,
parts.
and if you had somebody specially port your lower intake, I would hope that that gentleman or whoever it was knew what they were doing to match the the ports for the flow to whatever your build is. So he should definitely be able to, or hopefully be able to help you on the rest of the build and the rest of the information.
Yeah, just to add on to that, what we're doing with this is not a stock motor. We're going aftermarket, but we're matching all the parts. We've got a trick flow intake, cam, heads, and we contacted Trick Flow and said, what's the right combination?
Yeah, what's the best? They already do all the testing.
Right.
Yeah, they do. They have the flow numbers for all the intakes and the injectors, what they recommend for fuel flow. And they even recommended the size fuel pump for this.
Yeah, they did. We're going with a 190.
Yeah, the best thing to do, anything like that, is to find the person that you think would know the most about it, and the professional or the manufacturer or the salesperson for the manufacturer is going to be your best reference for that material, because or for that information, because they're the ones that have the most experience with it. And that's even better, I think, than saying talk to a general race shop that deals with a little bit of everything. Now granted, they deal with a little bit of everything, so they're going to have a good general knowledge over all the performance parts, but it definitely helps to talk to the manufacturer and the person who or at least the people who engineered it, to give you the best information on that.
Will installing aftermarket mods like headers, throttle body, cold air intake throw off a check engine light?
If you have speed density, it's a possibility. With mass air, it shouldn't. My guess is a sensor broke or you left something unplugged. I've seen several times one of the easiest sensors to break if you swapped it over is the air charge temp sensor, because the element kind of sticks out. And I've actually seen those, like where people will go to put it in an intake and not quite get it in right and crush over the tip, and as soon as you power it up, because it's crushed and short circuited, it shorts and definitely doesn't, the air charge temp sensor doesn't work, so it throws the computer in the limp home mode with the check engine light.
Yeah.
And,
and that's good to call that out. I think the question might be, if you do on newer cars nowadays, anything you change, you get like a check engine light just about, you need a tune. But the FOXBODYs and Mass Air really weren't that way for the most part if you did things right.
Yeah, they're pretty forgiving, especially compared to today's computers. They're really considered dumb computers. They're kind of slow. Ask any tuner, and they're really slow compared to newer computers.
This question actually comes from our buddy Pony1992. He's been on the channel before. Shout out Jeremy. What's the rarest FOXBODY Mustang in your opinion?
I guess I'm gonna show you.
Oh.
I feel like I have to do this to prove that it's real. What I think is probably the rarest Foxbody is, and I'm not even sure if any of them were ever sold. I know they were initially made, but the rarest Foxbody that I know of
well, let me show the camera
is the
Check
Mustang SS.
Check that out, guys.
And here's actually the Ford package.
Wait.
I mean, it came.
Yeah.
It is.
Wait, that's
Ford.
Super Sport. What is that?
So in '79 they had the 5-liter Mustang. 80 and 81 they got rid of the 5-liter and went to the 4.2. In '82 they brought the 5-liter back. So I'm sure everybody's seen the Boss is Back campaign for the '82 GT.
The boss is back.
When the '82 GT was originally released, it was released as the Mustang SS. And I've heard a couple of stories on why that didn't stick, but the one that I think the one that I actually believe is that GM filed a lawsuit. Like, the story that I heard is like the day they hit the showroom floor, GM filed like a cease and desist, and at that point all documentation, all the emblems and everything needed to be destroyed. And interesting little tidbit on that, you saw it was an SS emblem, like a plastic emblem. Well, if you look at the '82 GTs, the first half of production of the '82 GTs, if you look on the back, it doesn't have an emblem, it has a sticker that says GT. Then the second half, actually, it took them time to make the mold to make the emblems, but the second half actually has a plastic emblem like this. So yeah, in my
that would
opinion,
make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes them time, especially, I mean, in 1982, they didn't have the computerized CNC, so it took them a little bit longer.
I wonder how that ever got approved at Ford. You would think
Right, yeah. I wonder, and I don't have it. I have a buddy that used to own dealership, and he actually had one of the brochures.
Oh, really?
Unfortunately, it got stolen out of the family. And I looked at it, and it was like the new Mustang SS. And
wow.
I was like, yeah, but so as far as I'm concerned, that's probably the rarest Foxbody.
I gotta agree. I never heard of that. That's pretty cool.
I guess I'd like to say also, if anybody knows what the buck tag is, that's the metal tag stamped on the radiator support with a lot of the vehicle information. If you got an early 82 GT, just take a look to see if they happen to say SS instead of GT.
Ooh.
That would be the rarest car out there then.
If you do have that, let us know in the comments down below. We'd love to hear about it.
Yes.
What made you decide to start your business? Where did your Fox Body passion originate from? I know that's 2 and maybe have already been covered on the channel. Thanks, big fan here. That's from Boomerang Stank. So.
Cool. All right. So the reason I started my business is I just decided I didn't want to work for anybody else. So I tried a couple of businesses ahead of time. I even tried mobile mechanics, thinking about opening my own shop. And then I eventually just fell into selling Mustang parts. It was actually an abandoned 85 GT in front of an Albertsons in Florida. I left my phone number on it for probably 3 solid weeks, and I kept going back and it was gone. And finally the guy called me and I bought it and parted it out on eBay, and that's what started the business. Yeah, what was the second part of that question?
Where did your Fox Body passion originate from?
That would have been my best friend in high school, Matt Brooks. He actually had...
Another Matt!
Yeah, another Matt.
Go
Imagine that. Yeah. He actually had an 85 GT red with the gray interior with the red pinstriping, and we just went and hung out in that all the time and drove around in that. And my first car was a 79 Camaro, which... Oh! Yeah, which I hated. I mean, it was fine, but right after that I had a 67 Mustang, and then right after that it was an 85 Coupe.
You know who else hated the 79 Camaros? Apparently the CHP. That's why they went with the SSPs.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I heard.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, probably started 82s when they first hit though.
Yeah. Some guy did a video on SSP facts. I don't know who he is, but that was one of them. Will Fox Resto be restoring hatch quarter windows like they do with the coupe windows?
Yes, we definitely have that in the plans, and they actually have been started. I've started the mold on the driver's side. It's about done. Unfortunately, with everything going on with COVID-19 and the shutdown, I'm a little busier than normal trying to pick up some slack on some stuff. So they are coming. They're a little bit delayed. I'd hope to have them by now, but yeah, they will be here.
And I will say, when they're here, we'll probably do some sort of announcement on the channel as well.
Absolutely.
So stay tuned to the channel. And then, you know what happens when you get them done? I'm gonna have to buy a hatchback.
Yeah.
Gotta try the windows out.
That's
so
true.
We'll see.
You'll be trying the coupes.
Yeah. Hopefully Tiffany's not watching, but anyway. Just kidding, honey. All right, hard to explain. Boils down to, I scanned for my check engine light and it comes up with a 22 and a 66. BAP sensor and MAF sensor. Took a while, but I think it's the ECM. Capacitors are green when they connect to the board. Found that after I bought a new mass air meter though.
Gotcha. I actually ran into this problem not too long ago with the Fox Body. A lower mileage one that somebody brought for me to diagnose. It was a code 66, I think is the mass air code. He thought he had a bad mass air. I got it in and I opened it up, and it turned out the mass air chip on the computer was corroded, and I ended up just replacing the chip, and it fixed the whole problem. And let me just say, if you've got the green capacitors on there, that computer's never been rebuilt, so those capacitors, just the ones I'm thinking about, I think the green with black letters, and those are original from Ford, so if you've still got those, the computer definitely needs to be rebuilt and gone over.
Matt, I have an 89 140 cluster. The bottom mounting hole got broken off during shipping, I guess. But anyway, I have an 87 4-cylinder cluster. I can take everything out of the 4-cylinder cluster, so it's just an empty cluster, then put everything from the 89 cluster and put into the 4-cylinder cluster. He wants to know if that's basically an option. Can you do that?
Yeah, that's absolutely an option. Between the housing, the circuit board on the back, the voltage regulator on the back, the lens, and even the 4 small gauges, the amp, oil, fuel, and coolant. It doesn't matter what car it is. 87 to 89 is a range, 90 to 93 is another range. They're all the same between V8 and 4 cylinders. The differences you get are going to be the speedometer and the tachometer. The tachometer, you cannot interchange the tachometer between 4-cylinder and 8-cylinder. So you can't take a 7K tach from a V8 and put it into a 4-cylinder. Huh. It won't read correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, it won't read correctly. However, speedometers, all the calibration from an 85 mile an hour to a 140, that's all done within the speedometer and the spring in the speedometer. You don't have to change anything to change your speedometer. To go from an 85 mile an hour speedometer to a 140, you just simply take the 85 out, throw the 140 in, and you're done. You don't have to do anything into gear, down at the transmission. If you need to do something the only time you need to change the gear in the transmission for the speedometer is if you change rear end gears. But right. That's the only time. Other than that, yeah, the speedometers, they're all calibrated to no matter what they read out at, they're all calibrated to read 60 miles per hour at 1,000 RPM with a speedometer cable. So the speedometer cable is always going to spin at 1,000 RPMs at 60 miles an hour. So at that point, all the calibration is done within the speedometer head. But it's just reusing the housing. Absolutely, the housing's the same, no problem. Swap it over, and you're good to go.
What's the most horsepower a stock bottom end can handle? A lot of people I've talked to seem to say 500 horsepower is about all it can take, but some tuners I've talked to, dynoed some Foxes with close to 600 wheel horsepower, they seem to say it's in the tune. What's your opinion?
I don't know how the max you could get out of the stock short block or long block. I've never tried. The best thing I can tell you, the healthier the motor, the longer it's going to run and the more horsepower you can get out of it.
I have a 347 that burns a quart of oil every 500 miles. It's pretty annoying, I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Tips or tricks on tracking it down would be nice. I suspect I have incorrect push rod length. How does that lead to burning oil though? Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't think the push rod length is gonna, I don't see any way a push rod's gonna cause you to burn oil. If you're burning oil, which if you say burning oil, I'm taking it that it means that you're going through the oil's going through the combustion chamber and out the tailpipe. There's only so many points that can happen at. Your valve seals and guides, which they kind of work together, head gasket, and then the piston rings. On a 347, I know a little bit about those. That's the one performance motor I've done a little bit of work with. The problem with those, and I think there were some kits that came out later that fix this problem, but the biggest problem with the 347s is the location of the wrist pinhole for the connecting rod to the piston. So on a 347, or on all pistons, you've got 3 layers of rings. You got the top compression spring, the second compression ring, sorry, not spring, and then you got the third, which is a set of at least 3 rings that your oil control ring. The oil control ring is what allows it to stay lubricated, but not allow the oil into the combustion chamber. There's a flaw in a 347, and a lot of them, all of them that I know of, but they may have fixed it. But the wrist pinhole actually intersects or cuts into the groove with the oil control ring. So I've heard of that causing a lot of problems. I've heard of 347s only lasting 5,000 or 10,000 miles. I've seen them last a lot longer. But as far as burning oil, I would have to ask if that's not going to be the problem where the oil control ring and the wrist pinhole. If that's not going to be a problem with your car, I would ask if was the break-in done correctly. You know, on the first startup for the compression rings, and you know, check your head gasket and stuff like that. But if you're burning oil, there's only so many places it can get in from the into the combustion chamber, and those are the ones listed. So that's where you would look.
Cool.
Maybe start with the compression test. If your compression test and everything come out okay, you know, it's a possibility. It's just a flaw in the 347.
I think I know another guy too that did a compression test on a video.
Oh,
maybe
you should know how to do
they
that.
can check that out.
Yeah,
They want to know
definitely.
the process. Well, Matt, that actually brings us to the end of the questions on YouTube, and we've been going for a little while. So I think it might be easier if we break this up and we handle the Instagram questions on another video.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, so we're gonna do that, guys. Hope you enjoyed this one. The Instagram video will be coming out sometime after this. I don't know exactly after. We might have a little bit more work to do on this engine here. Well, we have a lot more work to do, let's be honest. But Matt's gonna help me out with that. Hope you guys, again, enjoyed this one. If you did, please hit that like button for me. If you're stopping in for the first time, please subscribe. And if you need some stock Fox body parts, new old stock, maybe some reproduction parts, I think I know a guy. So check
Might
out.
be able to find some.
Yeah. Check out their site. I always have it down in the description below, but it's foxresto.com, and you can get 10% off on most items with Gearhead 704. So check it out, and thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
We'll see you on the next one.
Sounds good.